Well, the end of summer is nearly upon us. Most kids going back to school next week. And back to school will be one of the emphasis of our program this morning. Hi, it's Our Town. It comes to you each and every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. I am your host, Darren Swenson. The sponsor of said program is Decorah Bank and Trust. Speaking of back to school, we'll talk back to school safety with Decorah Police Chief Tricia Thein. We'll also talk to some back to school matters with Decorah School Superintendent Tim Cronin. We'll have our monthly chat with Decorah City Manager Travis Goedken. But before we fully get back into the school mode, we have to have one more celebration of a small town community celebration this summer. It's the Norman Borlaug Harvest Festival coming up this weekend in Cresco. And Jason Passmore from the Cresco Chamber and Howard County Development will join us to tell us all about it. He will be our leadoff batter on Our Town, the Back to School edition. Brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust, and you're in tune to 94.9 and 99.1 The River. Well, school is going to be back in session next week, but we got to have one final celebration before the summer comes to a close. And a good celebration to have is the Norman Borlaug Harvest Fest. And it's taking place this weekend in Cresco. And joining us, like he always does this time of year, Jason Passmore from the Cresco Chamber and Howard County Development. And Jason, we're all set to have a weekend of fun in Cresco, and all the fun starts already this afternoon.
Yes, we are ready for it. And hopefully, Mother Nature has got all that rain out of her system, and we'll be looking at great weather for the entire weekend. But yeah, we're excited. We're ready to go, and here in Cresco, and we'll kick it off tonight. We have a farmers market that's in Beetle Park. That's on every Thursday, but this is a special Thursday because this kind of kicks off our Harvest Fest weekend, the 21st. So we're ready to go, and boy, we've got a lot lined up.
And Friday afternoon, more fun gets underway. A little bit of fun, a little bit of entertainment, some competition, and some food. Sounds like a winning combination.
Amen to that. Yes, if you really want to come over and really smell some great steaks, starting on Friday and then Saturday also, our steak cook-off takes place, and these are championship cooks from all over the U.S. That come here and cook the best steaks you'll ever see and taste in your life. We have our opening ceremonies to honor Dr. Borlaug. That's what this festival is all about. Norman Borlaug, one of the greatest humanitarians to walk this planet, right here from Northeast Iowa. But yes, we have live music downtown. We've got bingo in the tent. We've got a beanbag tournament Friday night. We've even got a color fun run on Friday night. So we've got a lot of stuff going on Friday night to kind of really get us going.
And then when you look at the schedule for Saturday, you got stuff starting at 7 in the morning, ending at 11 o'clock at night. If you can't find something fun to do on Saturday in Cresco, it's your own darn fault.
Well said, Darren. Well said. Yes, we've got breakfast at the VFW. The cruise to Cresco should be just a treat this year. Last year we had over about 130 cars downtown Cresco. That's when you get a nice forecasted weather day that turns out to be a nice weather day, and hopefully that's exactly what we're looking at. And if we can see that again, we're expecting a ton of cars downtown. But we've got a volleyball tournament, we've got pickleball tournaments going on. We've got our annual quilt auction that benefits our hospital through the hospital auxiliary. That's going to be going on at the tent starting at 11 o'clock. We've got tours out there even at the Borlaug farm. If folks have not had a chance to visit Norman's boyhood farm, please do that. That is quite a sight. It's picturesque out there. Our parade starts at 4:30 on Saturday. That goes downtown, and then we've got some really cool live music and live performances. We've got a cool comedy show going on at the theater at 7 o'clock. But we've got Braylon McCarville from right here in Cresco going to kick things off with music in the tent at 6 o'clock. And then around 7:30, 7:38, Corey Farley will take the stage. So we've got Northeast Iowa's premier young talent coming to Cresco.
And the premier young talent with Braylon, the Northeast Iowa native with premier young talent. Good to keep it local and entertain the folks on Saturday.
That's a good way to put it. Yes, we're keeping it local. We're shopping local. We're supporting local. That's what the Chamber of Commerce is all about. That's what this weekend is all about. Come out, join people, see some things that you haven't had a chance to see, revisit. Um, just have a good old time.
And then Sunday, an opportunity to hit the links.
Hit the links. We've got a cool three couple best shot tournament going on out at the Cresco Country Club. The course is great. It took a lot of rain this last couple days, but that'll be okay. We'll be ready to go by Sunday. And we just can't thank our sponsors enough for allowing us to do all of this for 4 days. It doesn't happen. It takes a village, to raise a child, and it takes a ton of sponsors and a ton of our local businesses to help us put this event on.
And I know you've got them listed on the flyers, but if you got the opportunity in front of you now, why don't you run down some of the people that make it happen?
Our biggest sponsors, and they're always right there for us, is our both of our banks, CUSB Bank and Cresco Bank and Trust. But Featherlight is a huge sponsor and one of our largest employers over here in Cresco. Campsite RV is a huge sponsor. CIA Insurance, our Hawkeye Sanitation, actually Car Auto Group is a huge sponsor, and Regional Health Services and Anthony Henry Seal Coating. And the list goes on and on and on. But our businesses really step up to the plate. Now we just need folks to turn out and have a great time.
And how important is it to keep the story of Norman Borlaug alive?
Oh, very important. We used to do one, what we called Inspire Day a year, and that was during Harvest Fest. And we bring in fifth graders from the local area to come visit that farm. And we have now had so many requests. That one day's turned into like four. They do back-to-back days, and they do them in the spring and the fall. And it's really about investing into our youth and telling them, hey, the man grew up here. Norman Borlaug was right from here. He went to a one-room schoolhouse and he changed the world. So that's what Inspire Day is about. That's what Dr. Borlaug's legacy is about, is who's next? What do you want to do? How do you want to change the world? You don't have to invent a strand of wheat that will grow in third world countries and save millions from starvation. You don't have to do that. But what are you going to do to better this society that we live in? And that's really what Dr. Borlaug's legacy is about. And that's why we put the name on the festival, and we do like to try to honor him and bring him up when we have a chance.
Anything we're missing? Anything else you want to pass on to the public?
We don't. Just come on out, especially come out Saturday night, listen to some great music, enjoy the festivities, and hook up with some old friends.
All right, Jason, appreciate you taking the time as always to tell us about one of the last weekends of summer, but a great weekend to have some fun in Cresco with the Norman Borlaug Harvest Festival this weekend. Hopefully, Mother Nature got the tears out of the way here early in the week, so the weather will be great for you this weekend. Best of luck with everything, and we appreciate the time as always.
Thanks, Darren.
Jason Passmore with Cresco Chamber and Howard County Development. The Norman Borlaug Harvest Festival gets underway tonight with the farmers market. A lot of fun throughout the weekend in Cresco. Time now for our monthly chat with Decorah City Manager Travis Goedken. A lot of things to get to, so pitter patter, let's get at her. As a lot of things on Monday night's City Council agenda dealt with the Decorah Athletic Complex, and this will be a multi-layered conversation because a lot of the issues you talked about related to the complex. Let's go with the action itself. You accepted the bid for the basics and the three alternatives. What are the three alternatives, first of all?
hmm So the three alternates that were awarded, Darren, included adding a third field. The base bid had two fields as part of the project. One alternate also included a double batting cage tunnel. And then the final alternate was using sod for one of the ball fields. That way we can bring that field online faster, as we are a bit in a bit of a time crunch with this project.
The fact that you accepted this bid last night, does that allow really at least one of those fields to be ready by next summer?
That's the goal. Obviously, a lot of that timeline depends on the contractor's schedule. So, without contract awarded to Skyline Construction, I'm hopeful that they'll get right on that this spring yet, or excuse me, this fall yet, and have us ready to go potentially late spring, at least on one of the fields.
And related to that, there was some discussion related to the parking lot. And as of right now, from what I understand, it'll be a gravel parking lot, but that could change. Explain what's going on there.
Yeah, so as you pointed out, Darren, there were a number of items on the agenda regarding this project, and we had to be pretty nimble as we made our way through the meeting because it really depended on how the dominoes all fell. Last night, the council approved the first reading of an ordinance that would amend our zoning code to allow a gravel parking lot in an F1 floodplain district by special exception permit of the Board of Adjustment. So what this means for our project is should this ordinance, which was approved with the first reading 6-0 last night, should it be approved and adopted, the city will then need to submit a special exception application to the Board of Adjustment. And if the Board of Adjustment grants that permit, then we move forward as planned. However, if for some reason either it doesn't pass second and third readings or an application submitted and Board of Adjustment does not approve the special exception permit, our code requires that that parking lot needs to be paved. And then we will have to go not necessarily back to the drawing board, but we will have to essentially put another project out there to turn around and pave the parking lot.
And
Let's
is it interesting the fact that you're talking about F1 floodplains on a day where the river rose pretty well to its highest level in quite some time in Decorah?
Yeah, that was a very strong consideration of council. Gravel parking lots are not greatly better than a paved parking lot by any means. I don't want to give that impression, but they are slightly more permeable than a asphalt or concrete parking lot. And that was a comment echoed by several council members last night on why they were also voting yes on this ordinance.
And related to the athletic complex itself, the city is going to be applying for a CAT grant related to it. What can be included in that? How much are you going to apply for?
Mhm. So the resolution that was approved last night and authorized myself to apply for up to $500,000 for that community attraction and tourism grant. The details of which are still a bit up in the air. Park Board meets this Thursday, and so we'll be soliciting their feedback on whether it's some current designed amenities. They're all planned amenities for the athletic complex out there. But when I say current designed, an option proposed to council, which I don't think is necessarily the path we'll go, is we could change order since we've got an active contract with Skyline with established unit pricing. We could add some of the already bid amenities in there, such as the second batting cage. But we also do have and this is important to note, that while the athletic complex was awarded last night with those three alternates still leave us behind a fundraising gap of $275,000. So it's really important to know for the public that we are still short that 275,000 from public funding. But it was noted, in addition to comments received from the public last night, that there's still a lot of asks that haven't been made at this time, and we're confident that those asks will fill that gap.
The council did approve the site plan for the Decorah Athletic Complex. Should these other amenities come to be, would that be a significant enough change in the site plan itself that it would have to go before P&Z and the council again, or was last night's approval good enough?
Depending on the amenities that are selected for the CAT grant application, I would say a concession stand is a great example. While it's planned for one in the center of the Ball Diamond complex with shared restroom facilities, that detail was lacking from the site plan, even the footprint. Even though it's going on an impervious surface area of concrete, that probably should be an amended site plan to include something like that. Now, all the conversations on the CAC grant, what additional amenities we might be able to work into. This is a grant application, so this conversation might be all for naught if we're not awarded by IEDA. And additionally, a component of that application is broad community support, and this is a direct quote from the application: broad community support from both public and private resources. And by public, it states city and county contributions. So the city has made an ask of Wenatchee County to provide funding as well to strengthen, if not make us eligible for the Community Attraction and Tourism Grant application. I believe next Monday, which is the 25th by my calendar, that will be on the agenda for the supervisors to discuss.
All right, so a lot of things going on with the Decorah Athletic Complex. Stay tuned. There's going to be more details coming up. Uh, Council approved at least one election for November, and there might be a second one down the road. Tell us about that.
Yes, so the one approved last night was to place on the ballot for November a not to exceed bond issuance of 1.3 million to cover building rent. I don't want to say renovations, but some major construction projects at the library around the exterior, uh, basically removing all the EFIS from the uh, east side of the library there. EFIS is the exterior coating applied to the new addition. Long story short, that material, when it was applied, it was a relatively new technology, and they did not use vapor barriers at that time. And so you took a porous construction material, applied it directly to the side of a wall without a water barrier. It's creating some issues on the east side of the library there. In addition, it'll address a number of other water damage spots, and also insulate the attic space, create some thermal barrier issues that they're dealing with, and replace I believe, original fire alarm panel that's in the library.
And the other election that you tabled last night, hoping for more information here in the not too distant future. Tell us about that.
Yes, so that's the project that's been discussed nearly as long as a new school building, I believe. Predates my arrival here, but the fire station project, again, it's been many, many years in the works. Recently, the council approved a contract with ISG to assist the city in determining the cost effectiveness of a few options: a complete demolition, new construction for a fire department only on this site, a renovation of the existing with potential addition on the existing site, again, fire department only, or a demolition, new construction to house all the current services here on this site. That process is not far enough along to give council an idea of, one, is the dollar amount proposed sufficient for the options we want to pursue? Or two, knowing, quite frankly, if one of those options is more cost effective than the other and council wants to just throw that option out, we don't want to put that on the ballot then for consideration, do we? As it stands today, we don't have enough information to know which path the council wants to go down. So the ballot language is very broad, and the council wants to avoid that if at all possible. So that action was tabled, and we have the absolute latest would be our second council meeting in September, which is the 15th, for consideration, and still get that to the county auditor in time for the ballot.
But if for some reason that doesn't happen, you can't put it on in November. When's the next possible day you could have a bond issue for that?
November of 2026.
All right.
Yep.
And both of those would need a 60% supermajority.
Correct. 60% plus one,
Okay. And
just in case.
all right. You also look at the bigger picture, and I know the school wasn't specifically city related, but the school district will be breaking ground on that here in the not too distant future here. Voters were asked to approve that last November, and voters are being asked to approve $11.3 million in bonding from the city perspective this November. Is there a little bit of a concern that you're asking the taxpayers to do too much in that short a time?
Yeah, no doubt that's a concern, Darren. So that's why we're trying to structure our debt load in a way that it tries to make that transition from a city perspective a little less steep, if you will. We've got a couple of bonds that are coming off in the very near future. So by the time of which there will be some overlap. Do not get me wrong, there will be some overlap, especially with Locust Road. That is our single highest debt service payment at this point at 850,000 or so per year. So that's one that as that one comes off, this proposed debt service that, from a city perspective, will actually have a lower debt service levy after Locust Road comes off. But again, there is a number of years of overlap that could see an increase there. And yes, it's a concern, but as you noted, they are two separate entities. Obviously, three separate facilities we're talking about here. And, we're hopeful that the public's receptive and understands the need here.
But it's also one property tax bill, so you all get lumped together whether you like it or not, right?
Correct. Yep.
So anyway, that's is covered on my legal pad. Anything else on your Microsoft Word document?
Again, can't stress enough, we try and be cognizant of taxpayer dollars as much as possible. And the council did approve that Decorah Athletic Complex with those three alternates. We are still short 275,000 on what was expected to be private financing or private funding. So encourage everyone that unfortunately, if you haven't been asked yet and you're wanting to contribute, you can see signs all over, especially on our existing ball diamond here at City Hall, on how to donate. Or please feel free to reach out to myself or Mark Holte, our Parks and Rec Superintendent. We'll be happy to talk through the project with you.
And if I'm not mistaken, you can just make a donation on the Parks and Rec website, correct?
Absolutely.
All right, Travis, that's all I got for you for this month. We'll look forward to our next conversation in September. Appreciate the time as always.
Sounds good, Darren. Looking forward to it.
Travis Goedken, Decorah City Manager. Well, school starts next Monday, and we couldn't have a back to school edition of Our Town without a conversation with Decorah School Superintendent Tim Cronin. And Tim, one issue that's been getting a decent amount of attention in the media here in the state of Iowa is some districts having some struggles filling their teaching spots for the upcoming year. How is the Decorah School District coming when it comes to filling the necessary vacancies to make sure you can have a school year?
We're set pretty well. We've got all our teaching positions have been filled, I think, since at least mid-July, which is very comforting, maybe early July, and that was quite a relief. And we've got a few pair openings and but other than that, I think we're fully staffed and ready to go.
And I know some districts are having a struggle with it, and it seems to be a bigger issue than it was perhaps maybe 5 years ago. Any particular reason why, or is it maybe a little bit more of a district by district thing than meets the eye?
No, the teacher shortage is a very real thing. We had heard about it in education probably about 7 or 8 years ago, but we started to feel it 4 or 5 years ago when we would post for jobs, and there's certain jobs that are just hard to fill. Special ed is a hard to fill job. There's some of the specialized areas like maybe business or ag or uh, family consumer science. Those are going to be tough to fill jobs, but we're seeing fewer and fewer applicants for um, just classroom elementary teachers. I can tell you, I had left the Cedar Rapids district, but about 8 or 9 years ago, I was talking to one of my peers who was a principal in Cedar Rapids, and they posted for a third grade teaching job in mid-June, and they would normally expect to get 30 applicants for that, and they got three, I think. So it's probably it falls more uh, on the rural districts because there's fewer people living in those areas, and so when there is a teacher shortage, which there is, it's harder to get out to the rural areas. I know the two districts I came from before Decorah, Central City and Dunkerton, we had Spanish teacher vacancies, and we did online Spanish. So that would have been back in 2021. And I know this year, uh, West Central, which is down by Maynard, was talking about doing online English as a class just because they couldn't find an English teacher. So yeah, they're without a doubt, and we've seen some movement from the legislature with the guaranteed minimum salary, raising it up to 50,000, positive move in that area. So if you talk to me, why is there a shortage? Um, we kind of got aware of this when the colleges and universities were saying, "Hey, we just don't have people going into education," and they knew, the fewer people that go in, the fewer education majors they would graduate with degrees. So why is it a problem? I think it's not a desired field for people to go into. I think you could break that out. I don't know, all which one is to more blame, but low pay is certainly one of them, and then just it's a tough job and it's not for everybody. Working with children every day can be super rewarding, but not everybody that's not their cup of tea. So it's not a job for everybody, and it's not a high paying job. And so people have gone away from it as a profession, which has gotten us into a shortage. We're not the only state. We're not the only district in the state. We're not the only state in the union that has this issue.
How do you make education more marketable?
Well, that's a wonderful question. I know there's some districts that have uh, gone to the calendar that only has school on 4 days a week and with some modifications, and they would say that that's been a game changer for them with regards to getting staff. I'll have to see a little bit more to be able to explain how that works. Um, but I would say compensation would draw people to the profession, and then seeing some of the other rewards of the the benefits of working with children and educating and the joys of being a teacher. And I don't know but where you ingrain that into young people that this is a noble, wonderful profession.
I know you had a reasonably busy summer when it comes to summer projects. I'd imagine pretty much everything's ready to go.
Yeah, buttoned up, ready to go. We put a brand new roof on Carrie Lee's gymnasium, and long overdue. So that's the pitched roof that you can see, and we put on instead of asphalt shingles, we put on the metal shingles, so we'll get a longer, better wear, longer lifespan. But that was a big part of the big roofing project. We also did a roofing project at the high school in a couple different sections. There was a lot of grounds that were done this summer. I know the high school got an award or got asked. They're going to be presented for award for how they've kept the high school. So that's a nice thing because that hasn't always been the case. Um, but yeah, poured in some cement. Everything is ready to go. Um, so we're fired up about that.
And speaking of the high school, some pretty good news coming out this week, from what I understand from U.S. News and World Report. Is that correct?
Yeah, just announced. Maybe I saw Brad Hurst, the principal, sent us an email at 5:10 this morning. So I don't know what time it got announced, but Brad was waiting for it. Decorah was voted the third best high school in the state of Iowa. So that's quite an accomplishment for a district this size, and for any district, that'd be quite an accomplishment. So I think we've been ranked second, fourth, and third. I guess maybe even one year we were first, but being in the top four is always a good sign.
And what do you credit that to?
Oh boy, that's a system-wide thing. We just have folks doing a fantastic job, starting with pre-K all the way through 12. I know in talking to some other superintendents, we also won the Iowa Blue Ribbon High School Award last year. And I had some peers asking me like, what did you do? Almost looking for like a magic bullet or a secret sauce. And there's no shortcuts. We just have folks that really do a nice job modeling for the students. Teachers work hard, students work hard. We got a lot of support for our students, and it goes a long way.
And I think you bring up a good point. In awards like that, the high school gets the recognition, but without the solid base, pre-K, elementary, middle school, and on up, the high school isn't in a position to get those awards. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, 100%. And not that that's taking anything away from the great job the folks at the high school do, but yeah, this is a system-wide award. This reflects 13 years of great education, and I attribute that quote to Brad Johansson, who teaches at the high school. Brad recognizes that this is a district award, not just a high school award. So absolutely.
And as for school starting next Monday, what's your message to district patrons, district parents, district students as the 2025-2026 school year gets underway?
Well, we had an address with the staff on Monday, and one of the messages was for me as a superintendent, principal, or teacher, from the side of getting ready for school. I've never felt 100% ready for the start of school, but I know it happens, and that everything will be fine. So from my perspective, talking to staff is, don't worry about it. You can never. It doesn't even have to be perfect. All you have to do is meet those students with enthusiasm and compassion on Monday, and it'll go fine. So my message to the community is we're ready for next Monday, and we're excited to start the school year.
And anything new to talk about regarding the new elementary school?
We're working on finalizing plans and getting. We'd hope to have drawings and maybe even a 3D tour, but that's not quite ready yet. We're kind of finalizing a few things with the architect and the CMAR. So stay tuned on that.
All right. Anything else you want to pass on as long as you got a forum?
No, I think that's it. We'll be fired up and ready for the first day of school on Monday.
All
And I
right.
guess I guess maybe the other thing I would now that don't forget we have the Meet the Teacher nights on Thursday, so check local listings. But West Side starts at 3:30, John Klein at 4, Terry Lee at 4:30, the middle school at 5, and the high school is at 6:30.
All right. Appreciate the time and the information. As always, Tim, here's to a great 2025-2026 school year in the Decorah Community School District.
Thank you very much.
Tim Cronin, Decorah Schools Superintendent. Coming up next week is the start of a new school year, and back to school safety is the topic of conversation as we're joined by Decorah Police Chief Tricia Thein. And Tricia, obviously, there's some good reminders every year as we're going back to school, but with the way construction is going in the city of Decorah, there's some extra reminders this year. Why don't you run down basically some of the things to keep in mind, especially with the construction going on around the schools in the downtown area?
Yeah, the first thing is our kids are super excited. If you've talked to any of our little people in the area, they are super excited to get back and see their teachers and reconnect with their classmates. And so that excitement sometimes can be like blinders on the eyes of kids. They have one focus, and that's to get to the playground and the lunchroom with their classmates. And so with that in mind, we need to understand that some of these kids are going to be walking and bicycling to school. And we have some major construction, obviously, as people know, on Hively Street, which impacts how folks are going to get to school and back from school. school, is really meaning that Water Street is going to have to maintain a heavy traffic flow to accommodate school buses, parents dropping kids off in cars. And then again, some of our walkers and bicyclists are going to be taking sidewalks and utilizing some of those streets on Water Street to cut down to the elementary school or the high school. So we just really need to be very, very conscientious and really avoid Water Street during peak times if you can. Don't use it as a pass-through area. Maybe use the highways if you're trying to get to Walmart early in the morning or in the middle of the afternoon, just to avoid Water Street. And really just be a good vehicle motorist on the roadways during those peak times. Don't try to be that last car through the intersection to catch that green light, because you're going to end up blocking traffic that's trying to go the other way, and we'll just have traffic backups, and it's just going to make it more difficult in the long run. So allow yourself extra time, be aware of where the heavy construction is, and really just always be on the lookout for those little people that are just excited to get back and start the school year.
And how important is just being patient at this time of year? I mean, you can, it's pot kettle calling the kettle black because I'm as impatient as anybody around, but how important is it to just be patient behind the wheel, knowing the fact that you might be a minute or two late for work, but if you rush through things, it can have dire consequences.
Absolutely. Patience is key. Allow yourself that extra time. If you normally are leaving to head to the school at 7:55, why don't you leave at 7:50? Give yourself that extra 5-minute grace period. I guess there's some other considerations. If you just want to get to a parking lot close and then walk the rest of the way to the school to drop your kid off at school, that could save you some of the traffic jams as well. But what I do know is that we oftentimes get in a rush and then we tend to try to multitask as the adults in the car. And really, we have to model what we tell our kids all the time. Pay attention to what's going on in the moment. Hands and cell phones down, eyes up and on the road, and be vigilant. With that hands-free law that went into effect July 1, in the month of July, over 2,600 warning citations were issued to people. And I feel like a lot of warning citations were issued here in Decorah by these officers. So it's making an impact, because July also had the lowest reported traffic fatality deaths in the state in the last 5 years. So this education is key to making a difference. And so phones down, eyes up, give yourself that extra 5 minutes to get to where you're going, to make sure everybody gets to their intended destination safely.
And how important is it to drill that hands-free and don't be distracted behind the wheel message? Because I know we talk a lot about kids on that end of things. Us adults probably aren't as great as we think we are on that end of things. If we set a good example as adults, you would expect kids to follow. Would that be fair?
I think that's fair. I think that we should always model the behavior that we want to see in our young people. And if you know that that's a thing for you, that you're going to try to just catch that quick email or respond quickly to that text or just read that text, even having that cell phone in your hand is going to be a problem. It is hands-free. Unless your cell phone is voice activated or you can respond by voice, you cannot be manipulating your cell phone in any way, shape, or form when you're operating the motor vehicle. If you know that that is something that could catch you, silence your phone, throw it in your purse, put your purse in the trunk, do something to get it away from you to avoid that distraction, because a small kid can get lost in the A-pillar of your car between the window, the side window, and the windshield in a split second, and you can't undo that damage once it's done. So we just really, really need to model what we expect from our kids ourselves.
And I know we touched on this the first time we had the conversation about the hands-free law. If you're backed up at a red light and you think the lights isn't going to turn for quite some time, that's not an excuse to get the cell phone out and respond to that text or email, is it?
It is not an excuse. Nope. And quite frankly, just from the number of citations, warning citations that are being issued, which we also hand out an educational pamphlet explaining to people ways that they can avoid using their cell phone while they're driving, and ways that they can activate the hands-free mode of that, the voice activation on that. Officers are catching this happening all the time. And so after January 1, this is a citable offense. This is the warning period. The grace period is over. And we're talking $200 fines. This is going to be an expensive lesson to learn. We're hopeful that during this education period, we're sending that message out loud and clear that we're going to be zero tolerance on that, because the safety of our kids matter. The safety of everyone matters. And it's just that split second, you can't undo that text message.
Getting back to the back to school safety end of things, I know there's going to be plenty of kids walking to school and especially bicycling to school for the first month and a half to enjoy that last bit of good weather. What's a few things to keep in mind about sharing the road with bicyclists?
I think that what we have to recognize that no matter what, no matter who you felt had the right of way, a bicyclist and a motor vehicle, that is a bad combination. And we know who's going to come out on the losing end of that no matter what. So nobody goes into a driving situation anticipating or expecting or wanting that. And so be conscientious of the people that we share the road with and recognize even if you felt you had the right of way, giving a little grace and allowing that bicyclist to pass or that pedestrian to pass because they do ultimately have the right of way. I also want parents to talk to their kids and talk about safe bicycling and safe walking and stopping at stop signs and checking before you enter a crosswalk because we have the assumption that vehicles will stop, but we don't know that. So we have to practice safety on all aspects, no matter our mode of transportation getting to and from.
Give us a reminder about the laws regarding passing stopped school buses. I know it's something that both your department and the sheriff's office have sent out press releases about the last couple of springs. We can talk about statistics and how often it happens. If it happens once, it's too damn many. Give us a reminder of why we shouldn't do it.
You shouldn't do it because the lives of kids are at stake. That's bottom line. When you see those flashing ambers, it's like the stoplight turning yellow. That's your reminder to slow down because they're preparing to put that arm out, that stop arm. Once that stop arm is out, you need to stop. There is no passing allowed under any circumstances. I don't care what you want to claim the emergency is. You will end up striking a child. And again, that's that action that we cannot undo once it's done. And so there are very, very heavy ramifications for violating that school bus stop arm. And the second offense, we're going to end up taking your license for certain. The first offense, you could lose your license as well. The fines are tremendous. And bottom line, at the end of the day, it's not about the money. It's not about the license sanctions. It's about the safety of children. We all school bus and let them get to school safely. And we need your help to make that happen.
Anything we're missing? Anything else we need to touch on regarding back to school safety?
No, if there's ever a question or concerns that you have, please give the police department a call. We're here to respond to those in a timely fashion. If there are concerns about certain routes that kids are going to school and traffic behavior that you're witnessing, let us know. We can get squad cars in the area. But our squad cars will be out in full force at the beginning of the school day and at the end of the school day to ensure that traffic is being respectful and courteous on the roads and following the law. I also do want to mention that Mechanic Street will be having some chip seal work done. However, the work crews are accommodating the school day and not going to be out there doing that construction during the heavy traffic flows, but you will see them out in between the beginning of school and the end of school. And as long as the roadway is not blocked, they're expecting you to still drive. Please be safe for our construction workers that are out there doing that work.
All right, Tricia, we appreciate you taking some time to give us some very, very key reminders of how to keep our most precious resource safe as school starts next week. Thank you for the time, and thank you and everyone with the Decorah Police Department for what you do to keep our community safe.
Thanks, Darren, for helping us spread the message.
Tricia Thein, the police chief of Decorah, with some back to school safety reminders.